front lines to help them get drones to stay safe, to help them get generators for and batteries for power. And I see that Aria and Forrest are back as co-hosts, so I'm happy to turn it back over to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for coming back. Welcome to Maria Report.
Thank you so much for jumping in and filling that gap. Apologize. I could feel it coming, so it's great that we have such a wonderful team here and we're able to get stuff going. Aria, are you back and ready to go?
I'm back and ready to rumble. But that being said, TK Bach, you were doing such a great job. I only have 28 minutes left on my shift. You just want to take over for me and Forrest for the next 28? Give him a little bit of a break with the little ones, and let me get off early. I really appreciate you coming up and talking, and I really think you do a great job when you're up here. So to all the listeners, thank you for coming back. We crashed. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but a lot of times the crashes are at random times. Sometimes they're at very interesting times. But in any case, going back to what I was saying, because I believe Tracy is back. I think I just saw her. Yep. So in regards to your question before we were all booted, so you have all these people that were off work, right? It's also summer, so kids are off of school. People in universities are off. People tend to, physically leave their houses more, and because opposed to during winter. So the amount of bandwidth being used on these cellular networks from all those extra people, hundreds of thousands of people streaming YouTube, streaming Spotify, and all of this different stuff, that is slowing down and affecting these networks, right? And these networks are not designed to take max load of users at maximum capacity. They're designed to take a normal load of users at normal, so what I think is happening, especially in countries that tend to have less infrastructure with this, is that these networks are getting overwhelmed in ways that they didn't expect, right? When they were putting in the infrastructure, even if they're putting in the infrastructure to be able to give you 5G signal over 4G or 4G over 3G, right? There's still a limited amount of bandwidth capacity. And I think what's happening is that is getting, it's getting to the point where it's just slowing everything down. In the same way as if you ever have a website, right, whether it's with Wix or you create it yourself or some other company, you have 10 people looking at your website. It moves relatively quickly, right? They can go through the pages, they can load different images, load videos, buy stuff. You have 100 people on your website at 1 second. You'll be lucky if them clicking reload gets you the the web page, a couple of times. So I think it's a bandwidth issue. I'm starting to waffle on. Tracy, we'll go back to you, and then Forrest, I'll hand you over the mic, man.
Thank you, Aria. I mean, you make some really great points, and I think you're probably right in part, but I don't think it was like this last summer, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm remembering wrong. It could be, of course, a combination of things, but I think the internet completely disappearing is very, very odd. Even if I could understand it being slowed down and you have like maybe less bars, less signal, but for it to completely disappear and drop out completely, I think is odd. But thank you, Aria.
So when my understanding, and I am not an expert on this, but if there is enough traffic, right, to the network and it slows down enough, it will appear to people like it's completely not there, right? Like it stopped. So I know with me the other day, it was saying I still had 4G, but even clicking reload on I forgot what it's called, the thing you check your bandwidth on. It wouldn't load the page, even though it said I was receiving and sending information, and it was so small, the amount of gigabytes, right, that it was sending, that my guess is the application for internet on my phone was timing out and was not fully loading the page. So I think that that's also it. And, in regards to last summer, Tracy, there wasn't the Cloudflare, outages. We're talking about tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of people who would have been working all of last week that have either been doing very limited work or none, right? So they're all on their phones. And I think each year, more and more people use their phones, and less people are watching, Netflix on their TV. They're watching it on their phone. So just some thoughts. But I don't think anybody really knows at this point 100% why. Forrest, I saw your hand was up, and either way, I'm going to hand it over to you, man.
Yeah, I dropped all the way out and back in, but hopefully you can hear me. And I was really curious with CrowdStrike, what the impact was on Ukraine and the front line. I know they use a lot
you're welcome to come up, ask your questions, talk about news, or say stuff, especially if it's pertaining to Ukraine or the fight against the access or similar things. Right. And sadly, there is not another platform that I know of that has the same ability as this one. But hopefully one day that changes, and or at the very best, our fearless leader decides to put a couple dollars into actually fixing this. TK Bach, same issue as before. I cannot bring you up as co-host. Forrest, can you?
She's TKD is up as speaker.
Or speaker, a speaker.
Yeah, and actually the couple of crashes we've just had has nothing to do with Twitter. This is not Twitter's fault. There are plenty of problems and plenty of issues with Twitter, but this specifically was not Twitter's fault. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, you are correct, Prince, and that is why before I said that we are having some technical issues on our end that are beyond our control, which is true. It's not Twitter's fault, but thank you for that. It is greatly appreciated. TK Bach, welcome back. Over to you.
Thanks, Aria. I don't know, were y'all able to get a timestamp on this one? Because I forgot to put a timestamp on the last one, so I thought maybe I should let everyone know that today is Thursday, July 25th. And it is, let's see. Oh, it is already July 26th. It's Friday, July 26th at 1:44 in the morning in Kyiv. 11:44 p.m. in London, Thursday, July 25th. It is now 6:45 on the east coast of the United States, 3:45 p.m. on the west coast of the United States. It is 6:45 in the morning in Perth, Western Australia, where Will Teal should soon be waking up to come and join us. And then let's see, it is 7:45 a.m. in Seoul. So you're back in, I think, let's see, it appears that today is day 881 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. We are 10 years into the open aggression, and even longer than that into Russia's genocide against Ukraine. So that's the update for the dates. Thank y'all.
Thank you for that. I wanted to do a voice check. Aria, can you hear me now? Tracy, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
I'm glad I'm not a robot anymore, although that would be pretty cool sometimes. Go ahead, Tracy.
Thank you, Forrest. So if nobody's got anything else to say at the moment, I will just give this warning because it's quite serious and I think everybody should hear it. So there is, of course, a load of Russian nonsense and provocations to try and make Ukrainians believe that there are issues at nuclear power plants. So the Minister of Energy is warning that all nuclear power plants in the territory under control of Ukraine are operating normally. The fake about the accident at a southern Ukrainian nuclear power plant was first thrown into the Ukrainian information space by Russian propaganda in response to their own efforts to hide the accident at the Rostov nuclear power plant. Unfortunately, despite official refuting of this information by the Centre for Strategic Communications and Information Security, open manipulations are still going on regarding the information of the nuclear power plant and equipment. There was no disconnection of the power transformer, which is what was mentioned and spread in fake news at the station. If such an event were to occur, it would make it impossible to deliver electricity and would indeed lead to the need to shut down the nuclear unit. Damage to other equipment does not affect the operation of the unit and may only have a short-term, within hours, impact upon the ability to dispense. This is a direct consequence of the targeted Russian attacks on the energy infrastructure. Such a situation cannot be considered an accident, attempts by irresponsible politicians to speculate and spread outright manipulations about the nuclear plant are unacceptable. We ask the National Security and Defence Council, as well as the Security Service of Ukraine, to take immediate measures to protect individuals for attempts to play along with Russian propaganda and destabilise the socio-political situation in Ukraine. I thought it was important to read that.
It is very important, Tracy. Thank you very much for that. We've seen, right, I know we talked about last week that the Russians were talking about how the Ukrainians were going to blow up that one nuclear power plant, and they started putting that in into the information space. So I really, besides just the sake of sharing the news on a personal level, I appreciate you adding that update, because I have not had the time to follow or look into it over the last couple of days, and that is scary. So thank you very much for that. Forrest, over to you.
I don't know, did you hear my question earlier? I was going to ask about whether the CrowdStrike outage had any impact on Ukraine in the front lines, because I know they use a lot of Windows-based operating system stuff like Dell laptops, rugged Dell laptops, and other such things. Did you hear of anything of that sort?
I haven't heard anything personally, right? All the people I've talked to who work in IT are either in the United States for private or government, companies. I have not talked to anybody outside of two friends who live in Israel, right, in regards to this. I don't know how it affected Europe. I don't know how it affected, let alone the front lines of Ukraine, right? I would imagine the Ukrainian military tends to be a little smarter about this type of stuff than a lot of other militaries are, that they wouldn't, for at least more essential systems, wouldn't, put it on something that could be taken down by an external factor like this, right? I understand they're reliant on, things like satellite internet, which can be taken down, but that's a different issue. I'm sure, though, secondarily, right, that there have been a ton of government and private industries in Ukraine that have been affected, right? I'm sure that there are companies that have been struggling due to the war, that this costs them a week of being able to work, that they have to pay all their employees and don't take any income in. And I wouldn't be surprised, right? There was a very famous video game series called Stalker for the computer, which is a first person a survival shooter game, and they're coming out after a decade with the new one. It's very acclaimed to people who play video games and care about that stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they send out a message that it's going to be delayed on its release by a couple of weeks because of this. But as far as actual data, as far as actual people in the industry who have talked to me, I can't answer your question, Forrest. I'm going off of assumptions here. But if any of our listeners do work in Ukrainian IT, or have friends or family that they have talked to who are IT workers in Ukraine, we would really love to hear what they've had to say if you're able to share it. Thank you. Back to you first.
Well, I see we have some certain segment coming up with a certain Chuck who maybe would have some knowledge of whether or not the CrowdStrike outage had some impact. And Will, is that you I see creeping down below me as the speaker? How's it going, sir?
It's going pretty well. I'm just about ready to pack your nest full of yummy little goodies, and then get ready to go speak to Chuck for a couple hours.
That sounds like a winner. Let's hope that the internet does us well. We're sending only good internet vibes out of it. I do see a hand up. It's like Jay Allen. Go ahead.
Jay Allen, I don't know if you could hear him. If you are there, you are welcome to ask your question or make a comment. But as of now, as it stands, oh, there we go.
Had my mic off. Sorry. I just wanted to tell you, if you probably already know what happened. Well, CrowdStrike did an update. And then with the update, it had a bug in it.
Jay Allen, we're getting really bad feedback. If you're using your speakerphone, it's not doing a proper job of cutting the audio out while you're talking. It's playing it out. So if you could just turn the volume down on that while you're talking, because I'm having trouble following what you're saying. And I know if I'm having trouble, others are.
Let me try again. What happened?
You were coming in clear and then we just lost you. I'll give you a second to see if you come back. I would love to hear what you have to share. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I couldn't make out what you were saying. There was too much feedback.
Okay, let me try one more time. CrowdStrike did an update. And with the update, it crashed everybody. It was not any kind of cyber attack. Don't know. Apparently you didn't hear me. Sorry.
So we hear you. And yeah, it was some kind of patch they were trying to put through that had something that was kicking out the blue screen of death on everyone's stuff. I don't know if I made it sound like it was an attack. I just meant I wonder if it did have frontline impacts, because a lot of the tech that's being sent to the front line, that we are sending to the front line, runs off of Windows-based systems that potentially could use CrowdStrike. But I think Maria said it well. More than likely, they are running their own system and not CrowdStrike. I didn't really think about it that way. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, there are still airlines in the U.S. that are having problems. So it's pretty widespread. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming up. Aria, I saw your hand up there. Are you still good?
Yeah. So I wanted to thank you for that. You're 100% correct. At least according to the information we have currently, it appears that an employee was supposed to, take some proper verification that there had been some checks done and it was the right version. And it looks like they uploaded a test version that wasn't tested. And that kind of fragged all the systems. And within about 15 minutes, there was a fix to be able to get into the computer, but this still is a problem in multiple industries with computers down. And I know there were still government agencies where their tech support is working around the clock, when they're on duty to get this fixed because of how bad it is. So it is very much appreciated. That being said, it is almost the end of my shift here, so I will be stepping down quietly when Chuck and Will are ready. Take your time, guys, but I am looking forward to bullet points as always. I will try to stick around as a speaker for a little bit, because I do find it very fascinating, and I know I always learn a lot from Chuck. and Will when they're doing the segment. And at some point, I'm going to drop because I have some plans. But I wanted to thank everybody who kept coming back up through our glitches. I want to thank everybody who stayed on from the previous segment we had with the Chechen Independence Party and talked about Chechen history and what the Russians have done to them to destroy their culture and genocide their people. So I think today's been a very productive 3 hours, and I, want to thank all of you for participating and being with us. You could have spent it doing something more fun, and instead you spent it here with us learning about some important things. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to you, Forrest, and check the messages.
Oh, Forrest, I got you breaking up a little bit, bud. Are you there?
So when it does start working for us, please let us know it's the solar storm and not that you've joined the Russian national window jumping team, please. But
that moment when everything was quiet, I was like, oh, did the whole thing break? Oh no.
you missed the two crashes, right?
Oh God, I know it. There's this weird thing that happens at the start of bullet points. I have to log on about 3 times before listen. Love the show. Love to hear what you're doing. I have to admit to listening anonymously sometimes, but I always listen. And Will, I see you there as well. My wingman for bullet points.
Yeah, we can swap in anytime, as it is 7 a.m. in the workers' paradise, and you know us former military guys, we always start on time.
Absolutely, we like to start on time, and I'll play a little of the good news, which is the Cold War spy music. And we usually play this when there is good news from Ukraine militarily. Little gold finger here. And we've got some good news tonight, Will, don't we? We've got a Ukrainian unit that broke out of encirclement. And we have another Ukrainian unit that broke up what is very likely the largest scale Russian offensive operation in at least the last 4 to 6 months. So we've got really good stuff and all sorts of other very intriguing developments. So we got a good one tonight, folks. So stick around and hey, get on your Twitter and tell everybody that Will and I are with the edition of Thursday Night Bullets.
Yes, indeed. I'm plugged into the co-host spot, and it looks like requests are processing just fine. So if you want to come up and ask a question, please do that. Friday for me. Today, the second show of the week, we don't tend to focus as much on the maps, and we try to focus more on other developments in the military area because it's only 48 hours since we last updated the map. So I've only put one map up in the overhead in the nest, and we'll talk through that. But yeah, Chuck's right. There's a couple of developments that are good news, bad news. I always try to highlight on Twitter and when my segments are on things which I find to be very good examples of tactics from Ukraine, like we did last time. Sometimes I see something so horrendous, though, that we have to demonstrate that, and that so far has always been the performance of one of the Russian units. And so, yeah, we definitely want to talk about the breakout and this attack that was broken up. Chuck, it's like they were listening to your show, because you continually talk about how we're talking about platoon-sized elements or possibly company-sized elements. Well, it looks like the ninth, I think it's the 9th separate motorized rifle brigade has decided to put on a show for you, and it didn't go well.
No, it didn't. I did an interview this morning with our compadre Jason Smart at the Kyiv Post, and we were talking exactly about that. I sort of joked before we went on. Well, it's a good thing that I'm finally been proven right. So the thing that Will and I are talking about, I mean, everyone who listens to Bullet Points, you hear me go on and rag on the Russians for, these very small scale pinprick attacks. Of course, if you're in a platoon or company sized attack, you don't think it's a pinprick. If you are there at the point of contact, it's, there's plenty of lead in the air for just about everybody. But these Russian attacks, they are almost never sized appropriately to achieve their objectives. They're usually undersized, or in the case of a Kremena campaign last summer, there were multiple attacks, but they were not mutually supporting. They did not converge on objectives. They were widely dispersed points of contact. That's just not militarily appropriate. It isn't. It makes no sense tactically. And if you are a Russian listening guest and you are a platoon or company sized or perhaps a battalion commander, I would refer you to your own tactical doctrine. That's right there. I could cite chapter and verse. You should have multiple tactical elements, at least 3. They should converge on a target. And the leading most element of your offense should be reinforced by your reserves in a timely manner. That's Russian doctrine. So west of Donetsk, in a place called Kharkivka, today, I guess it was, what was it? It was yesterday morning, Ukraine time. So this was 29, 30 hours ago. The Russians came out of the box with an attack that had as many as